A radian can be calculated by using the radius of the circle and placing it around the outside of the circle and then measuring the angle between the two lines. But radians are really useful in Swift when you're creating, say, Bezier paths. So this video is about just that. So here's one possible example of where you may need to use radians and where converter would be useful. And I'm just drawing an arc here, which goes from 0 to 180 degrees. The 0 is on the right-hand side. I happen to know that. Here are my tests for testing a converter from degrees to radians. So 90 degrees happens to be 1.57 radians. So I came into this after experimenting with vision and needing to use radians to rotate the OCR, this type of thing. And to break down the problem, I've drawn an arc here, and it's called arc view. And essentially, I have just put a view in the middle of my storyboard, and I have an arc view here. And when it's created from the storyboard, it runs this draw arc function. And here you go, you've got radius. You've got arc center, and you've got a start angle and an end angle. And the start angle is in radians, and we're starting to do calculations here because the start angle is 180 times pi, the end angle is 0 times pi. I find it very confusing. So if I wanted to run this type of drawing function programmatically, I could feed in start radians and end radians values. That'd work fine. But I'm relying on the programmer, which is me, knowing about radians, which I may well not do. So what if I wanted to feed it degrees? Start degrees and end degrees? I'd use this function. And what is it? It's just a static function. So the static function takes in degrees and returns the radians. And it works just fine. And that's why I did the tests I showed you at the beginning. And it's infinitely better than just having a class here with static functions, which isn't actually doing the work. I think the right approach here is to have this static function, which is then callable from the function here. So that's one example of how you might use radians in Swift, and actually you probably will be. So it's good to get used to the conversion between degrees and radians, or use a similar function to the one I've written in this video. This is just one suggestion of where you can approach things.